Hello, everybody. I'm going to give this a try here. I'm in Epiphany Church in Newport, New Hampshire, and we're going to take a look at Rupert Long's The Kontakion, which we will be singing for All Saints Day, the All Saints service that we do. It's a really beautiful piece. I did this back 2008 at Emmanuel Episcopal Church on Mercer Island with an orchestra and a big mass choir, and it was really, really beautiful. And I thought it would be lovely to share it with you. So what I'd like to do with each of our anthems is to do a little introduction to the piece. A lot of times we get a piece and then we immediately start working on it and try to learn the notes, and we don't take the time to get to know the piece on a bigger level, which can have a lot of benefits. So what I'd like to do is encourage us all to take, before we start trying to learn these notes, getting our parts done and doing all the nitty-gritty work, if we take a week and we just consider, we listen to the song and we let it kind of come in, let it slowly enter, listen to YouTube recordings once, twice, 3 times, start to get the song in our head, in our ear, nice and relaxed, and understand the emotional content, understand what the piece is all about, all of these kinds of things. So to slowly get to know without it being this real intense thing of learning at the beginning. I've found in my life, learning music, if I do it this way, in the long run, I learn the piece much, much better, and it's much, much more fun, and it sounds better when I perform. So I'm going to encourage you to do that. So for the first week here, before we learn the notes, I'm just going to talk about a few aspects of the piece. And I think in general I'll focus on pitch, rhythm, form, and vocal technique. So the pitch, we'll kind of just briefly talk about the key it's in, solfege, any strange things that might happen harmonically. I might point out a few things here and there that you might listen for. And then the rhythm, we'll talk about the small scale form. So we're going to rhythm and form. The form is the big picture, and the rhythm's like you're in the trees and you're looking at the details. So we're going to look at the details, see if there's anything we should pay attention to, ways we might feel it. Then we'll look at the big form of the piece. We'll look at the form of the piece and finally talk about any vocal technique things you might consider. So hopefully I'll be able to keep it somewhat short, but give you a few things to think about and get you prepped. And then I hope that what you'll do is I'll send you a few YouTube links that you'll check out. And then you might also just Google Rupert Long Kontakion, and there's lots of recordings. It's really, really good to listen to lots of different recordings and hear how different people sing it. Everybody sings it a little differently. There's different tempos. There's different stresses. There's all kinds of different things that people do. And understanding the more range you have, the more possibility then that you have to do different things and make the music beautiful. Okay, I want to tell you one story about before we get started, and that's when I learned the piano. I took piano lessons when I was a kid and then quit, and then kind of picked it up in late high school, played a little bit, took some lessons in college, and then I met my music teacher, John Nauman, who he really got me to play the piano really well. I went from being just an intermediate, could play Bach 2-part inventions okay if I practiced a long time, to being able to play really, really hard piano literature at a very, very, very high level. And I did it in a very short time. I did it in 6 months. It was 6 months. I moved to New York City. I practiced 6 to 8 hours a day. I took lessons twice a week. At the end of the 6 months, I went and auditioned at a bunch of some of the best piano conservatories in the country, and I got in quite a few. So it was a real amazing thing. And I think it says something. It says a few things. It's not about me. It's about, I think we can learn a few things from this process. One, I'm going to point out 2 things. One is I want to talk about the importance of form. So when I was in college, I understood basic music theory, but not super well. And so I learned the music note by note, just wrote this note, then this note, then this note, like one long line of notes. And it took forever. It takes forever to learn that way. And that's how most people do it, for better, for worse. And it's extremely time-consuming, and it's really easy to forget where you are, and then you get lost in the trees, and you don't see the picture, and so it's hard to make expression. But that was just how it was back then. I didn't really have a good sense of music theory. But as I've played more and I got to understand music and form and harmonies more, now I can take a piece of music, look at it, and in 10 minutes have a basic idea of, oh, this is where the piece is, this is where it goes, these are the melodic material, harmonic material, this is how it fits together. And I can play a piece pretty quickly. So I just wanted to use that story partially to illustrate the reason I'm going through the form aspect, because it might seem like this is just abstract details, but it's really can be helpful if you understand what's happening on a form level, on the big sections and how they relate. And if you keep that in your mind, it can really help you as a performer. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm going to be teaching these. I've already done this in the other Anthem series we've done, but I'm going to keep teaching you by call and response. And I want to use this story to illustrate how powerful this technique is, because you might wonder why are we doing it this way? It seems like a waste of time. Just play my notes and I can learn them, right? Well, the way I learned with John Nauman was that I would kind of I'd try to learn the piece, and I would kind of get it really slowly and really badly. And then we'd sit in my lessons and I'd tape record it, and then I'd play it, and then he'd be like, it's like this. And he'd play it, and we'd go back and forth until he said, okay, it's like that. I had no idea what the difference was in any of it. I just did it until he said it was like that. And then we go on. And then I go home and listen to the tape recorder over and over again and try to copy what he did. And in that really short time, that taught me how to get really good at the piano. And the reason is, if you think about how lessons often go for piano or for music, it's like, well, these are the notes. Well, you didn't play the right note, or it's this note, it's not that note. But the notes are just the smallest little bit of music. It's all in all of these. There's thousands of little details that make a great musician, and somebody else that just plays the notes not very notable. So one of the main reasons I want to use call and response is so that you might, not that I'm a perfect example of a voice, but I've trained in singing for a long time, and I have, I think, some nice things to offer. So you might, as you think about this, as I sing your parts in this, not in this video, but in the next videos following, you practice this process of really listening and understanding what did they just do, and then try to do it back. And that process of listening, taking in, and then trying to mimic, you really can learn very quickly that way. And you can learn really well, and you can learn a lot more than if you just sit there and just by rote try to learn your notes. So I want to throw that out there as something, no matter what your level is, and even if it's not, what I'm doing is not perfect, you can still learn a lot by going through the process. Listen, take it in, try to understand my phrasing, the legato, everything, all of the little details, the rhythmic, when I start the note, when I end the note, and just try to copy it. It might not be what you do, but that process is a really powerful process. Also, the reason I do the call and response is so that people who don't read music really well can learn the music in a nice, easy, relaxed way. In fact, even if you can't read music at all, you could, by just listening to call and response and doing it over and over again, you could learn how to just sing this piece and learn the piece really nicely. So I'm also doing it for that reason. So I just wanted to say that because I'm going to keep doing this by call and response, and I think some of you might wonder, why are we doing this? It's a waste of time. But I really don't think it's a waste of time. I think it's really important and can be really helpful for all of you. Okay, Kontakion, Rupert Long. He wrote this not that long ago, I think in the 90s. The Kontakion is a Greek word, and it is used in the funerals. If you go to the Episcopal funeral or a Greek Orthodox funeral, at the end, they have this part of the liturgy. In the Greek Orthodox Church, it's called the Kontakion. But we also use it in the Episcopal Church. Give rest unto your servants. With your saints, O God, give rest, where there's neither pain nor sorrow. It can be said or it can be sung. There's a lovely rendition of this in the 1982 hymnal, which is the Episcopal hymnal, that's from the Greek Orthodox Church. But this is by Rupert Long. It's really nice. It's in the key of D flat. So let's start with pitch. Key of D flat, which means D flat is 1. So D flat is 1, E flat is 2, F is 3, G flat is 4, A flat is 5, B flat is 6, C is 7, D flat is 1. 7 notes, all you got to keep track of, and I don't believe that there are any accidentals in this. I think it's completely in just the major scale of D flat. So yeah, so that can be really easy. If you don't read music very well and you want to learn, really try to associate these numbers with the pitches. So the main theme, like the chorus, if you will, goes like this. Give rest unto your servants with your saints, O God. That's the first phrase, and it starts on 1. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 7, 6. Now it might seem at the beginning, if you haven't done this much, that that's kind of a waste of like, what do you really need to know that for? You can either do it or you can't, which is true, but the better you get and the more you really, there's so many things that has to do with tuning and understanding harmony. This is a really useful thing to be able to do. So know the numbers. Know when you're singing these words and these notes, that's a third, that's a major third, 2, 1, 2, 7, 6. So we'll go through that in the following videos, but just for today, this is a real easy one. It's in the key of D flat. Those are the numbers. There aren't any accidentals. It doesn't change key anywhere. It's quite straightforward. Nice and easy. Rhythm, the next section is also very easy. So this 8th note, dee, 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 I don't think, he doesn't have it written in his score. Yes, he does. He does have that written as an 8th note. So, ba, ba, bum, bum. This is the bass pulse. This is the fastest pulse that we have in this. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing faster. This is it. Bum, 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 bum. So from a rhythmic perspective, we want to keep track of this pulse. We always want to know where we are on this pulse. And it's in the key of, it's in the time signature, in his score, it kind of goes back between 4/4 and 8/4, but the important thing, it's just loops of 4, more or less, or loops of 2, because 2 is divisible by 4. So you have these eighth notes that keep looping. We call it a measure, but it's a loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. So in addition to the pitch and knowing the numbers, knowing the solfege, knowing where you are in relationship to D flat, the key, always knowing what relationship you have, 2, 3, there's only 7 relationships in this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You also want to know where you are in this loop at all times, and you want to know it so well that you don't have to think about it, you just feel it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because as you're singing, as you're making these recordings, or if you were in person, you were singing, it's this flow that keeps us all together. And the more precise you are in really feeling that and being right there, the better the music is. This is the most important part of music, is feeling that flow and being right there with it. Now, there's all kinds of things you can do around it. You can be right on it, you can be right before it, you can be after it. You can hit it hard, you can hit it soft, you can end it quick, you can end it long. There's all kinds of things that happen on top of this kind of framework pulse, but this basic pulse is the most important thing. If you can just stay with that, and you know your pitches, and and you're just relaxed and you're having fun, that's 95% of music right there. It's a lot. Anyway, the rest will kind of happen on its own. It'll happen naturally. So there's nothing in this, I think, that's of much interest. There's just 1/8 notes, 1/4 notes, 1/2 notes, whole notes. It's quite simple. The only thing that I might notice is, so there's the main motive that I just sang. So it doesn't start on beat 1. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rather, it comes in, we call it a pickup. It's a pickup. It comes in on the 7th and 8th 8 notes, or on beat 4, if you will. So bottom 1. So that 1, 2, 3, that's where this loop starts. Give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that happens a lot in this piece. So part of really getting a feel of the music is being able to feel that you're going to start a little before, but the beat, the loop is not exactly where it starts. Might make sense to you right now, might not, when you look at the music, or if you can look at the music right now. Hopefully you have it in front of you. You can see what I mean. But other than that, just noticing that pickup, ba da ba da 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 Ba ba 1 2 3 4 5 6 2 do. And there's a pickup there in this style of music. There's generally it moves toward the first beat. Bum 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 bum. So it's rest. Give 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6. So that's the only thing of note I'm going to mention. Keeping track of the eighth note pulse, the eighth note loop, and then this little pickup thing. And if you're new to sight reading, if you're new to reading music, to start to really always be taking the time as much as you can to understand the relationship, that there's 2 eighth notes and a quarter note, there's 4 eighth notes and a half note, 2 quarter notes and a half note, so that as you're feeling this pulse and you're keeping that always in your mind, if you see a half note, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 4 of the eighth notes. Okay, pitch, rhythm. The fourth one, form. So this has got a very simple form. It's basically a chorus, a refrain, or an antiphon. These all are synonymous, and a verse. So the whole thing starts as a solo with the antiphon. A cantor sings it, and then immediately everybody repeats it, which is a common way of doing things in music. So we do the refrain twice at the beginning. So refrain solo, refrain all, unison all. Then we go to the first verse. So in the verses, there's a soloist, a cantor. Soloist and cantor are synonyms as well. And the choir are singing the chords underneath. So it's SATB, and you're singing these different chords while the soloist sings their melody over top. So you'll be singing whatever note, whatever part you have. So that's pretty easy. So that right there is almost the whole piece. There's not much more to this form. So you have chorus, 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 verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and then the chorus repeats. So now we've got, it's almost, this pattern repeats exactly. First chorus. And the reason I'm repeating this a lot is because I really want you to know this. I want you to get this in your head. I want you to feel it as you go. Just like you're feeling this 8-beat loop happening, not just thinking it. You have to think it to get it, but you eventually want to feel it. You want to feel also in the big form this loop happening. Loop of the chorus. And then the chorus loops again. And then we have the verse, which loops. And then we feel the chorus. The verse moves into the chorus, and we do... go verse, chorus, and this time when the chorus comes in after the second verse, there's only 2 verses. After the second verse, then the choir continues to do, the first time, it does it just like we've been doing it, more or less unison, and then there's a little descant by a soloist, which is really pretty. So the chorus happens again, and then it repeats. The chorus repeats again, and this time we break up, and it gets a little more complicated. There's a little bit more parts. There's a little bit more going on with the descant. Anyway, but in terms of form, it's exactly the same. It's exactly that same melody happening again. It slightly changes in terms of how it's happening. He adds a little more so that it can build and get really big. And then at the very end, here, dee, 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 dee. Instead of going on, there's this little coda. You could call it a coda, which is like a little tack on to make a nice ending. Music always has a start, has a middle, it has an ending, and the start and the ending are important for how they set you into it, and then the ending for how it brings you out of it. So then it's got this pretty, it's a cappella choral. So it's the same words that we've been singing, but it's slightly different harmony, and it goes out really quietly. So this is a really simple form. Chorus, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, chorus, chorus. right? Chorus, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, 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 and then coda. So, in terms of vocal technique stuff, I would say there's not a lot to say here. I would say for the oohs, oohing is kind of an interesting thing, and the way you would ooh in an acoustic space depends on a lot of factors. And in fact, a choir director, depending on the space, might have you sing ah, might have you sing ooh, it might have you do a whole lot of things depending on the acoustic. Well, in our particular case, our acoustic is this phone, and then I digitally create the acoustic afterwards. So what you can think about here, just keep it nice and light. You don't want a heavy tone, you want it to be pretty, no vibrato if you can, or not much vibrato, just nice and easy. And nice easy phrases, so it kind of builds a little bit, and then comes back down. Gets quiet toward the end. So nice and easy, pretty. Have the tone there, not so quiet that you can't hear it, but it's definitely not a strong. We don't need anything big like that. Just nice and easy. And then sopranos. Let me take a look here. You've got some high stuff, and maybe the tenors do as well. Yes. It breaks up into a lot of parts. I have to think about if we're going to do the full version or a simplified version. But sopranos and tenors, you go up to a high F. So just remember, when you go up to these high notes, to just open up. All the vowels open up, and they're very close to ah. Like you can almost just sing, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. So just nice and easy. Just space. It can be nice. This can be nice and big here, but just let there be lots of space and really like. So the way you would sing it on ah, try to do the same thing, but with the words Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Just keep the space. I think other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You can listen to the phrasing that I do in the recording track, and you can get a sense of all the different ways that different choirs phrase when you listen to YouTube videos. But in general, follow whatever phrasing I use. I'll try to give you all of that information in the way I sing. So when you get the recording track eventually, a couple weeks from now, once hopefully spend a week and you slowly let the song come in, and then you spend a week or so and you start to learn the notes, see how it all fits together, do the nitty-gritty, and then as you start to think about recording, you get the recording tracks and really listen to the way I phrase things and see if you can emulate it. Try to emulate every little thing I'm doing. So if I do something a little bit different than the sheet music, in general, you want to do what I do, because otherwise, we're all going to be a little bit different. Because for one thing, everybody's got a different idea of what the sheet music means. There's nothing, there's lots of things that are not in the sheet music. It's just a little bit of information. So try to copy what I do in general. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty safe bet. So this is the long Kontakion, maybe for fun. I hope you go to YouTube and have a listen. Actually, yeah, we're going to go through this next week, and we're going to learn all these parts. That gives you kind of a rough overview of the piece, some things to think about when you're looking at it, the way that we're going to go about. I hope that you'll try out this way of learning, and then the way of recording. I hope that this gives you some things to think about and will be helpful, and I hope you'll try it out. And we'll see you next week. When I send a video of all the different parts. So have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time.